Whether I dress up or dress down, my dress is not an invitation for sex. Break the silence. Child sexual abuse is one secret we should never keep.
This message brought to you by UNICEF, UK Aid, and this station.
Let's start at the beginning. Just give me a little bit of information on how RISE came about and what are the intentions of that organization in St. Lucia.
RISE is 12 years old. We incorporated as an NGO in 2007 November, and we really began. And Stephen will back me up because he's really the one that dragged me into this as an experiment in engaging youth and their communities, their parents, their teachers, their schools, their peers, for change, for positive change. But not just that, having engaged them to be able to keep them and connect them to opportunities and to, the powers that be and those that have resources and opportunities for them, while linking others like us who were struggling with that same engagement dilemma. And that's, I think, essentially what RISE is.
To add to that, I remember I was a chief medical officer in 2004 to 2006, and I've been working with various public health programs, trying to design programs, strategic planning for health and so on. And violence was something that more and more was on my mind as a problem. Not only as a pathologist where I deal with the violence, I see dead young people as a result of violence, but looking at it from the public health point of view, how does one respond? And I noticed that a number of different ministries and countries were having, Ministry of Health that is, having clear responses to violence. So I thought we should do that too. But I was thinking about our relative successes and failures of the HIV program, and how when I was exiting the HIV program, again as the CMO, we helped to design the whole World Bank project. I realized that we had not really reached the youth with the program, and so I said, what can we do? And with the violence issue, and Linda Daher was starting a series of ads campaigning against violence, and so she asked me to speak, and I had been resistant, and then I eventually did. And then Jonathan Ninjadan, St. Rose, saw the ads, and he met me and he said, are you serious? And I said, well, yes, I am. So he said, well, talk to me. And that's when I dragged Dr. Bird to a meeting with him. And for a few hours, we sat and spoke, and he articulated a vision of how we should be responding as a society to violence, and the kind of society we should be envisioning. And it was, to me, it was a very powerful vision. It's one that still guides us till today.
What was interesting was how it resonated with both of us in our work as doctors. Yeah. He, the pathologist, seeing the bodies on his morgue table. But at that time, I was the community pediatrician looking after those children who were ending up dead on his table. And to have somebody not related at all to our field sort of articulating a vision at how you could engage these youngsters before they ended up that way. It was quite powerful and quite interesting. And I think we owe him not only for that vision, but for being the hook with the initial entrance into communities and engagement of youth. Because that's really how we started.
It is how we started.
Stop the Violence community block-oramas, led by Ninja Dan and his colleagues, going into communities. And the youth would always follow him. Yeah. They would never listen to us for a moment. So he was initially the hook, and then helped us to implement the vision.
Manny, go play in the waiting room while I talk to Mom. The lab results show that there's an STA.
How she could have got that?
You'll have to find out. But fill this prescription for antibiotics. It'll take care of the infection.
I'm gonna report this to the authorities. We'll need your help to deal with this.
But there's so much hassle with the police and the courts.
Medical professionals should report all suspected cases of child sexual abuse.
Of course, I'll make a report.
Break the silence. Child abuse is one secret you should never keep.
A message from UNICEF, Crime Stoppers, and this station.
This is a 12-year-old sort of engagement in that area. Just give me a picture of where we were 12 years ago before this started, as far as the youth were concerned in the inner cities. I'm getting an image of people with no real hope, people who felt like the society was against them, but I don't know for sure. So how did these inner city young people feel about the future before this whole rise engagement started?
It's interesting, you see. First of all, the problems that we're dealing with, and I'm going to start with that to try and answer your question, are deeply rooted systemic problems that are having a negative impact on the healthy development of youth. We defined our vision as one in which we would help create conscious youth and conscious people focused on their development, their personal development, their community development, and national development. And this was not what one was seeing. When we spoke to youth, especially inner city youth or marginalized youth, disadvantaged youth, disconnected youth, they did not see national development as something that they were engaged in. They did not see community development truly as something they were engaged in. They saw survival as being an important imperative. They also saw that there was no link, there was no connection to the mainstream. They felt disrespected by the communities, by society people, and so on. So, you're dealing with a set of youth that I think that as disrespected and disconnected. And now to say that has changed is not true. That is still present. However, what we have learned over the 12 years is there are certain engagements that you can have, and there is hope, but it requires a national effort. It requires an all-on-board approach if we are truly going to take this system and turn it around to be the kind of system that would work for every one of us, right? So, and the truth is, yes, RISE has helped a lot of youth in its journey so far. I mean, you can talk about the initiative, the CYP initiative, the Caribbean Youth Empowerment Program, which must have reached about close to how many?
Over 400 youth.
Right, in terms of training, life skills training, career opportunities, and so on. We can talk about the one that the public probably remembers big time, the Illinois Institute of Technology,
the engineering and the STEM pipeline to the United States for young people who may not be considered marginalized because they had the benefit of education and they had the benefit of a tertiary education, but then no pathway onwards from there to realize their dreams.
And over 80 youth have benefited from that program. Many of them are in the United States, in jobs and working and doing very well. A lot of people criticize and say, well, okay, they're in the US, how does that help us? It helps us in a number of ways. One, they're a great example to other youth, because we can say, look, if you work hard, if you stay in school, if you do well in your exams and so on, there's opportunity for you, and we can find opportunities for you. We can't guarantee, but we can surely guarantee to look for. And there are opportunities nowadays in this world once you are in a position to take advantage. Also, they give back in terms of remittances, in terms of also, I believe, knowing these youth as I know them, that the day will come when, yes, they will return, either in the form of setting up businesses, pipelines, or whatever, as soon as they are strong enough to lend a hand to pull other youth into the system. We have youth in Goldman Sachs agency right now, in all sorts of Google.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
lecturing at universities, doing PhDs.
Yeah.
Children make up more than half of the world's extremely poor. Here in the Eastern Caribbean, child poverty is fast becoming a serious issue. Why does it matter?
It matters to us because it's a violation of our rights. The Conventions on the Rights of the Child, which was signed by our country, says that we have a right to a decent standard of living.
It matters because poverty has a devastating effect that can pass from generation to generation.
And it matters because everywhere children are more vulnerable and likely to live in poverty than others. This will affect our future.
What are we going to do about it?
How do you find ways to engage young people who are so influenced by outside media, by just being young and having a whole generational change? How does Rise get to kids who want everything now? They want what they see, and they don't want to wait. How do you make that work?
Well, it's interesting because we have found in our work quite, I don't want to say easy. We've found it not as hard as people think to engage these young people. Now, I'm coming from a child health perspective where I look after children sometimes from birth, and a lot of the young people I engage, I may have interfaced with them as their doctor before, but there are many that I haven't. And we have found that there are a few ingredients that you need to engage and attract young people. One of them is creativity and interest, something that they would be excited by. Hence our use of the music and the music icons to attract them. But another one is just simply respecting them and meeting them where they are and having them recognize that respect and that attention. It often takes them by surprise. They're actually quite surprised when we take the time to stop, talk, listen, and then action some of what they're suggesting. And to us, that has been perhaps our greatest glue, if not hook.
Yes, I agree. And it's funny because I speak to young people. Dr. Bird in particular is a key figure because many of them know her, and she's interfaced with so many of them when they were little children, and invested care in them. That when often I'd mention her name, even to some of our more notorious, for want of a better word, criminals. If I mention Dr. Bird, they soften and they smile because they knew her when they were little. And it made me understand how important it is to raise our children with love and care. Because the little bit of love and care that they got has gone a long way to maintaining a hook to speak to some of the hardest people that other people might have difficulty speaking to. So I agree with Dr. Bird. It's respect. It's that ability to listen and without a judgment. I am not a young person, so I don't live their reality. So I can in no way pretend to understand exactly what they're going through. But I tell you what I can do, and what I do is I can listen to you. I can understand you, right? And I can help. Because what RISE really is an advocacy type agency, NGO. It's a bridge builder. It's breaking, as one of our friends said before in a previous football competition, building bridges and breaking barriers. And that's a mantra that we have too. So, and I think a lot of the young people appreciate that.
Sometimes it is interesting to see their reaction when some of the things we're preaching or trying to coach them in resonates with them. Some of them don't even understand the impacts of their adverse childhood experiences until we start speaking, and it's almost as if they a light bulb goes on because we're speaking their truth. We're trying to show them why they behave the way they do, and they may not even have had that insight. But when it resonates with them, you then have them on a pathway that they're willing to continue that journey with you.
And moreover, how do you get involved? I mean, we're not going to be able to cover everything now, and I hope I can bring you guys back to take each one, because I think each one deserves its own attention. The Safe Spaces program I like a lot. I know you're doing more and more of that.
Yes.
But what we can probably do is just give us a little bit about the program so people can know what to look forward to in upcoming programs and what RISE is doing.
We like to think of RISE as a movement rather than an organization. Yes, we're an NGO, we're registered, so we're able to harness funds, and we have harnessed a lot of funds, both from government, the private sector, and the international and regional donor agencies. Millions of dollars have passed through our little fingers here. It's quite astonishing, the trust that people have, and they see the work being done and they're willing to fuel it. So people call us all the time, well, I want to be a member. How do I become a member? Well, we want to tell the public that you are a member if you are doing our work in your community. It could be a school, it could be a small part of a community. If you're engaging young people and the community for positive change, if you're resourcing little projects that they're excited to do, if you're trying to get funds from other agencies, we can help you. You are a RISE member, because that is what RISE does. So we don't actually have a formal office. We did have a youth-friendly space at the Gablewoods Mall for several years, which was very useful actually, because we were able to establish with US Embassy funding an actual physical safe space with resources like photocopying, computer, all sorts of after-school activities that children could come in and use the physical space for. But we don't have an office right now at the moment. We like to work within the communities with people, within the schools. And we just want to encourage anybody that's interested in our thinking to get in contact with us. We have a Facebook page, we have a website, our email is rise.stlucia@gmail.com, and just get in touch with us. You are a RISE member if you are doing RISE-like work.
Yep. Yeah, because and it's really about thinking. You say, as a person thinketh, so he is, so she is. And that is what it's about. It's changing the way you think and being more thoughtful about how we are nurturing our youth, and in fact dealing with one another in relationships. That's what Safe Spaces is about. Safe Spaces is changing the way people think so that they can then interact with their children and with one another in the community in a positive way, to grow their children and to grow their communities. Eliminate violence, eliminate adverse childhood experiences, such that the communities can thrive, businesses can grow, people can be educated. You could actually envision that every community in this country, if we were to just change our approach and the way we thought, every community could thrive. There's enough opportunity in this world, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. But that's where we start, and that's what Safe Space is about. In Cicerone, with the parenting program that we're launching there, with the school program in Cicerone, looking at conflict resolution, peer mediation, empowering people themselves. It's peer parenting. It's not some expert coming to tell you how to parent. It's training parents themselves, and then the parents training other parents. It's a nuclear fission model of how you have to send this program out. And are they all RISE members? Oh yeah, for sure, because they're about rising. They're about community rising. They're about people rising. Once you're about that, you're a RISE member. We have no fees, no membership fees, no barriers. Anybody can come. We take
Anybody's welcome.
from we don't care about your criminal record. We don't care what you're doing, because you're a human being in our space, and we must work with you so you can be a better human being. You can do better. You can achieve your goals and build your community. That's what that's what the safe space is all about, you know. And we'll use any modality to reach to people and to do so.